Hey there, it's Christian from 7Gamer Network, and I've been moved to make a response video for you today, and it's in response to, well, some controversy that has arisen around Petersen Games and one of their Kickstarters. And this is specifically a response video to also address the marvellous King of Average's recent video. King of Average gave Sandy Petersen and his company Petersen Games, who are the creators of the mighty Cthulhu Wars, amongst other games, he gave them an absolute thrashing. Even my backside was smarting a little bit after listening to that video. And it's all due to this recent Kickstarter update for a Cthulhu Wars reprint Kickstarter. The video's had almost 7,000 views, and in our small world of specialist games, a video with that many views could potentially have a big impact. And now maybe you've seen it and you are concerned about your Petersen Games Kickstarter, or you just want to know what the hell's going on. I will link his video in the description below just in case you missed it. I'm going to cover three things in this video. Firstly, where I think King of Average is absolutely correct about Petersen Games and their business. Secondly, where I think King of Average might be incorrect and potentially have given you the wrong impression. And thirdly, what my personal experience with Petersen Games has been as a customer. And this is all with the aim of helping you to decide whether you think you can trust Petersen Games with your hard-earned money. Also, excuse me being hot and sweaty, because it's currently like 1,000,000 degrees here in the UK, 1,000,000 degrees Celsius here in the UK. And like, we don't have aircon in our houses. Our houses are built to keep us warm. So everyone here is currently suffering. So as an aside, I am a bit of a fan of King of Average. I love his approach. I like his principles that come out in his videos. I tend to like the games that he likes, his outlook on life, lots of things. But we all know that he can get on his soapbox and rant a little bit. It's partly the reason that we love him and his content. And he really does own that, even in the very videos that I'm making a response to here. But in this instance, he did appear to rant about something that I might suggest he hadn't done his full homework on. He was actually live, looking through some of the previous Kickstarters that Petersen Games have put out that he hadn't checked before. Now, of course, he does more of an off-the-cuff style, which we enjoy. But in this instance, it might have resulted in a bit of misinformation coming out in the video. And full disclosure here, I have nothing to do with Petersen Games. I just have a couple of Kickstarters that I have backed that are outstanding, and I follow loads of their updates. I haven't backed this particular one that all the furore is about either. I was just a £1 pledger, just so that I could get the updates on it, really. Petersen Games is, of course, a very small family company making, well, some pretty larger-than-life, I think, extraordinary games. So number one, King of Average referred several times to Petersen Games using, and I quote, "go and do other business things," or referring specifically to Sandy Petersen, after he's done doing other business endeavours and goofing off with other crap. Although it probably wasn't his intention, KOA is making it sound rather like Sandy is off doing other business endeavours, like, I don't know, starting a second-hand car dealership or a new bed and breakfast venture, using the money from the Cthulhu Wars reprint Kickstarter. Now, I think it's extremely important to point out, of course, that the reason that nobody's getting this reprint soon, which is essentially the heart of the message that Sandy Petersen recently did the Kickstarter update, is because the Kickstarter run is being delayed whilst they get the funds to be able to do a bigger overall run of the game, to include a large amount of retail copies of the same game. It's kind of a big stretch, I would say, to refer to this as other business endeavours. And I would say then, of course, it may be unintentionally somewhat misleading to paint the picture that Petersen Games is off doing something else with your money whilst you sit waiting for your Kickstarter to be delivered. Now, there are a whole heap of issues here, crumbs, absolutely, which I'll get into, but he's not off doing other business endeavours. He's just trying to Petersen Games is just trying to make more copies of the very same game than they just currently have the funds for. Again, more on that in a moment. And secondly, KOA, he stated that Sandy Petersen's focus is clearly on making campaigns rather than games. And that is, of course, one of his catchphrases, which is a very good catchphrase. And from what we see, I would say that the truth of the matter is that Sandy himself, which is who, of course, KOA was frequently referring to, I mean, he appears to basically spend his time designing and playtesting games. Really, in reality, much of the Kickstarter management, the paying the artists and the drafting campaigns and all that, that's kind of done by his team at Petersen Games, mostly run by his son Arthur, who is the guy who does the vast majority, actually, of the Kickstarter updates. And he does the factory visits to China and all that kind of stuff. He really is the sort of operations manager of Petersen Games. Sandy himself seems to live about, 2 years down the road to most of us because, well, he's designing and playtesting the games that will come out in future. So perhaps we could aim this criticism at the games company as a whole, and I'll come on to that presently. But Sandy Petersen's focus, I think, really is on making games, because he's the one who basically makes almost all the games that the company puts out. Thirdly, KOA stated that, and I quote, he's launched 32 campaigns, delivering far fewer than he is launching. And he really makes it sound that there are undelivered campaigns that are done with. And just to set that straight, Petersen Games hasn't ever not delivered on a Kickstarter. They have delivered on all Kickstarters, apart from the outstanding ones, naturally. Now, and there's a specific point, he actually gives the impression that you are giving money and walking away with nothing but a promise, as he says. And some of you may have been listening to this video and hearing it, essentially saying, wow, this company has taken money for Kickstarters and then never delivered them. Which is simply not the case. Now, the number of outstanding Kickstarters is quite large. Currently 7 either new games or reprints and or expansions of already sort of delivered and successful games. More on that too. So where then is King of Average spot on? Well, number one, 32 campaigns run, and there doesn't appear to be enough money in the bank to bankroll a bigger print run of one of their Kickstarters. Admittedly, their biggest, but you've got 9 total Kickstarters currently in process and outstanding. That does seem to be a problem, certainly as an outsider looking in. As KOA said, essentially, the sort of business acumen of all of this kind of looks to the outsider like it pretty sucks. Now, I have to say, it is immensely disappointing from my point of view, and I really hope that Petersen Games, with so many millions of dollars raised in the Kickstarters over the last few years, I really hope that they aren't just bouncing along the bottom, financially speaking, like it seems, and just staying in the black, hopefully. He's also spot on in just pointing out that having so many Kickstarters outstanding, I mean, it's definitely not cool. Now look, I think here it may be that Sandy Petersen himself he just makes games. He's making games quicker than the company really can produce and ship them, and all the work that goes in. I mean, it does seem that there should be a slowing down of the rate of these Kickstarters, and for the company to deliver them. Now, of course, if they are barely in the black, then that's kind of not really a realistic proposition. Well, that's a problem, as we know. It's not a good business model, but it certainly doesn't inspire confidence then when there are so many Kickstarters running concurrently. And thirdly, although he doesn't actually state this, he does of course talk about the lateness, and Petersen Games Kickstarters have always been late. They are very late with delivering their Kickstarters. Their factories appear to be some of the slower ones in China, although they are of course often trying to produce truly massive, complicated miniatures. But it certainly seems that their factories are slower in comparison with other ones that other companies seem to be using, who produce their games, I would say, in a more reasonable time frame. Generally less complex, with less complex miniatures, and sort of notwithstanding. So Gateway, he's obviously got some very genuine frustration, and I think it's merited over some of the points here. But I really did want to just point out some of those slight inaccuracies about the information that he was sharing that certainly may have been swaying you in terms of your opinion of Petersen Games. So finally, I'd just like to share a couple of things about my personal experience with Petersen Games, just as a further way of giving you the information so that you can make that decision about whether you're going to invest your hard-earned cash with them or not. So firstly, the updates. KOA, he seems to not be a backer of any of their games, understandably, with his low opinion of them. But I have to say that the updates that I've received from Petersen Games on the various Kickstarters I'm involved in, and the ones I've just £1 pledged on to see what's going on with them, they've been regular, consistent. They seem very transparent, and appear to have a real sense of integrity about them, and they're informative when there's info to share. He will of course post an update saying, hey, just keeping in touch, there's nothing particularly out of the ordinary happened, but he likes to keep in touch. When I say he, I'm talking of course about Arthur Petersen, who is looking after most of the sort of post-Kickstarter deal stuff. And he does actually write some really informative blog posts additionally on the world of running Kickstarters in China and all the intricacies of dealing with business over there, and he's sort of very forthcoming actually on what it's like doing his job of managing the Kickstarters. So again, as someone who is backing some of their games, who has some of their games and really enjoys them, there's actually Planet Apocalypse there as well, of course, which is his. It all appears very genuine and genuinely hard work to look after the Kickstarters. You might say, well, duh, when they've got quite a few going on at once. Secondly, from my point of view, their after-sales service has been magnificent. I mean, I bought Glorantha, and the insert was a bit broken, and one of the models had an arm missing. Now, they are sending me the new game trays that they developed for Glorantha in the Glorantha reprint, the Kickstarter. They're sending me that free of charge, and my replacement model, of course. And the contact with them, the whatever representative I've emailed, he was great, really helpful, very quick, and just spot on. You know, nothing was too much trouble. Thirdly, they are a quirky company. Some of their promo videos and the playthroughs that they've posted up, they are rather amateurish on occasion with some terrible editing, but I'd say it's also actually a part of the charm of supporting this kind of small family company. I mean, I think for them, I've really got the impression that it really is about the games for them. And they're made by some very geeky and nerdy people who really seem to enjoy what they're doing. The very real problems with the Cthulhu Wars Kickstarter then that we see, well, let's face it, they're either due to incompetency or maliciousness, or a combination of both. But I think with these guys, with so much that I've read from Arthur, who writes so much and pours out in blog posts and all the rest, with watching so many videos and seeing the kind of content these guys are putting out, and the kind of people that they invite along to their playthroughs to do and all that kind of stuff, I mean, it's really difficult to see that, oh, this is all maliciousness. I would say it's much more potentially of the former, some incompetency in terms of handling business, than the latter. And so this all kind of leaves me ultimately rather conflicted. Petersen Games, it clearly is a small family. It's a father and son's business, plus some other employees. And videos like KOAs are important critiques that has some content that I and, well, many others of us will absolutely resonate with. But at the same time, it does have some inaccuracies that made me a little uncomfortable for Petersen Games, and that I wanted to highlight for you watching, so that you can make a really informed choice about whether to roll with the punches for supporting, a small company like this, who I think has a rather brilliant and unique designer of games, or perhaps with all of these things you'll just wait to see them materialise in retail form and maybe take the plunge then. I really hope this slightly different video for me and my channel was helpful and informative for you. If it was, please do click a like and click subscribe, because hey, there'll be more content like this and all the reviews and previews and things like that you'd come to expect from a channel like mine. Anyway, until next time, keep enjoying your gaming.
Thank you.